Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 183.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? It's Mama Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Hello there, Mary Catherine Johnson here, and today I have with me Terry Ogburn of Ogburn's Business Solutions. Hey there, Terry. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mary Catherine. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you are very welcome. Thanks for gracing the mic with us and sharing the mic with us. I appreciate it. Okay, so Terry, I can't wait to talk about specifically time management and productivity, which I know you can talk a lot about as well. It's one of my, I wouldn't say a pet peeve, but it's definitely something that if I have to redo something, I get quite upset because I don't like having to redo things. I can tweak things, and once I have it done, I can change things here and there. But if I have to go all the way back to the beginning and redo everything, I'm not a happy camper. And hence why my floors don't get vacuumed as often as they probably should, because I don't like doing the same thing over and over again, right? So tell us, we need to start with your once upon a time story. What started you as a parent and an entrepreneur?
Great question. And as most parents, I would guess to say that their stories are unique. Okay. And I married a lady that had two kids. They were 3 and 5. And I was in the air conditioning business and working for a company and found myself laid off in March. Now, in the air conditioning business, it's hard to find work in Florida in March because nobody's looking in for that. And so I got in the phone book, Mary Catherine, and I just started calling air conditioning companies. And I found one that said, the lady said, I don't have a mechanic's position, I have a helper's position. And I said, I'll take it. And she goes, no, I didn't say mechanic, I said helper. And I said, look, I'm married with 2 kids and I need work. And I'll work. And she said, well, you'll leave at the summertime. I said, no, if you give me a job, I'm there. Okay. Fast forward, I get the job. So the owner of the company really takes a shine to me. He was like he was the mentor of me getting started in my air conditioning business. So he encouraged me to go out on my own. He would help me. He helped me get started. He used to pull the permits for me until I got my license and could do it. So he trusted me enough to put his name on the line for me to do the work. Wow. So then I ventured off into my air conditioning business. And I tell you, it was a rough start because as you saw my bio, I basically had $118.42. We were down to that. We were down. We were as far low as you could possibly get, not knowing where the next check was coming from, so to speak. We agreed that this would be the way to do it. And that's it. So I borrowed a car from the neighbor so I could actually get my first job done, and off we went. And we never looked back from there.
Wow. Okay, so how long did it take you? So with that story, your mentor spotted you the license to be able to get this going, and that $118 that you had in the account, was that what you started with, even with him spotting you, and then you started your business, and then it went up from there?
We lived in an apartment building that had been transitioning from apartment to condos. Inside when you bought your condo, the furnace room had a broken duct in there, which those are duct heaters that were put in there. So my thought there was there were 264 condos. They would eventually all sell. I could fix that little duct for $15, and this was in 1979. So that was $4,000. So that was my business plan to start with. Okay. So then when you bought one, Mary Catherine, I could take you in and open that furnace door for you. See that broken duct? I can fix that. And it's only going to cost you $15. And so that was a good plan because, again, that was $4,000. And back then, I really didn't need a car because of the being all in the neighborhood. So that's how it started. And then one thing led to another and so forth and so on. So, yep, that's how I got started.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And so you basically saw an opportunity, and it was definitely an opportunity where every other apartment owner who might purchase that condo, or anyone who came in and purchased that condo, was going to have the same issue that you had. So you had a possible plethora of clients. I mean,
exactly. 264 was the number of condos. If you multiply that times 15, basically it's around $3,900.
Yeah.
So
if
and
you
really
got them all.
Yeah, and I mean, you would. Somebody else could tape it. To do it correctly, you needed to staple it, and you had there's certain things to do. But anyway, I didn't get them all, obviously.
Yeah.
But what did kick in was one of the owners that did buy was Jim Foxworthy, who was transferred from Atlanta down to Tampa to head up the IBM launch of their program here in this area, which is Jeff Foxworthy's dad. So I even got to meet Jeff Foxworthy before he was actually even a star.
Any name, yeah.
Yeah. And so he mentored me, and then, of course, I've had a bunch of mentors along the way, especially within the air conditioning business. And one thing to another, and like diving into this subject. One of the things that I learned over the years, not at that time, but if you want to make a good living, pick an industry that is messed up and get right in the middle of it, because you could probably fix it because of all of it. And the air conditioning business, I should have never, by any rights or means, start a business in 1979 in Florida in the Tampa Bay market and become a success in less than 5 years. It should have been capitalized. But the market was so messed up with the mentality, and I'll give you just one little story here, and it has to do with time management. When the customers would call, they needed their air conditioner fixed. It was broken, okay? But they wanted something totally different. They wanted me there on their time schedule. And if we think about any service business, we need this, but we want that. So I went to the technicians and I said, okay, guys, how do we solve this problem? Because if we solve this problem right here, we can go. And they said, we can't. I said, well, no, I don't know that word. In fact, my mother took the word can't out of every dictionary that was in our house. And she'd tell you, go look it up. And you go, it's not there. And I told you can do it.
That's right.
So I got the technicians would say, well, Terry, we don't know how long we're going to be on a job. We could be on a job for 5 minutes. We could be on a job for an hour and a half, 3 hours, 5 hours, doesn't matter. And I said, okay, well, we got to stop this. So I used to watch a program called NYPD Blue, and everything was dispatched. So I said, well, if I have a dispatcher, okay, and the dispatcher was in control of the technicians, that would make life much easier. So we put two-way radios in our truck, communications. We didn't have cell phones, obviously, beepers. But so when the technician got to the job, he diagnosed the problem, just sold the job, and then called in for permission to work on it. And if he may not get permission because we may need him to go someplace else, we may have to go pick the part up. We had parts runners, we had people that could come behind him and fix the job, and put the part in and that type of stuff. And I incentivized the technicians by giving them, if they sold the job, they got a 2% off the top of the ticket. So they didn't have to do the work.
Right.
All they had to do was
get paid.
And so then I brought them in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would train them from 7 to 7:45 on customer service and how to sell themselves. And we built when I sold it, there was over 7,000 customers that had done business with me for 3 years or longer in an industry that dictated that nobody ever wanted to do business with you after the first time. So.
Wow. And so you had repeat business. And because of that customer service, the efficiency, the fact that you were there when they needed you, not when you said. So we know, Comcast, we see all the commercials on Comcast where they say if we're not there within an hour or half an hour, I don't remember exactly how long it is, then we refund your money or don't charge you, or I don't know what they say. But it is definitely a customer service mindset. And that was when did you have that business and you created that dispatch mentality?
Between 1981 and 83, something like that.
Yeah. And so now we're fast forward 2017 and many of the other industries that also work in that same process. I mean, I remember Pacific Bell and we have PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, and none of them work that way. It really is our time. We will tell you a 4-hour window that we're going to be there, and we'll just show up whenever we get there. Now, they do at least give you a courtesy call to let you know earlier, within that 4-hour window when they might be there sometimes. So what in the world has stopped so many of these service businesses from adopting the same kind of customer service that you developed back in the 80s?
I think it has to do with people getting sucked into a comfort zone, and they have a captured market, and so like these companies like Comcast or Bright House or Spectrum, these guys know you're not going anywhere else, so they kind of just go with what they can provide. Our window was 2 hours. So if you called in, Mary Catherine, you could have 8 to 10, 9 to 11, 10 to 12, and so on and so on. So once we got out there, that was the biggest thing you wanted us there was,
right,
to be there. Now, once we explained to you what the problem was and what it was going to take to fix it, then we'd say, okay, Mary Catherine, when would be a good time for us to come back and complete the repair? Well, that gave you a chance to go to the grocery store, go pick up the kids, go do what you had to do.
Right.
And then we could be back there in a coordinated time. And, that was one of the things that Mary Beth was my first dispatcher. And she was reluctant to do all this stuff, to stay in communication, because in that industry, nobody wanted to talk to the customer because they were irate. And you can imagine if your air conditioner's out, you are irate.
In Florida, yes.
Yes. Because we have a lot of humidity here and
Yeah.
Other parts. And then we also instituted something where we always called back after every completed call to find out how we did. I think that's another thing that business owners and parents like we're talking to, don't be afraid to call the customer and find out what your feedback. Get that because it'll help you groom for the next one. Okay, maybe you lose a customer. Maybe your customer's not happy, but you can stop it.
Yes.
And listen to your customer is the biggest tool. I know one of your questions is going to be that, but listening is a great tool.
Yes. I cannot agree with you more. I really cannot. That is probably the number one piece of advice I would give right now and I look at it, it's kind of counterintuitive. Thank you so much for saying that, because it's when we look at calling a customer, the biggest reason we don't is fear. Right? We're afraid of what they might say. We don't even know what they're going to say. We have no clue, but we're afraid of that possible percentage of the people that might not like what we did. And that little teeny percentage is stopping us from talking to the other huge percentage that's going to say we did good. Right? So
exactly.
What I look at now, Power Parents, please hear me, because what I do now is I welcome rejection. I give people the opportunity, and I look at it that way. I'm giving people the opportunity to reject me, to tell me they don't like something, to tell me those things. I embrace it. And why? Exactly what you just said. Because that gives me the opportunity to change and grow and do better. It doesn't.
Exactly.
I'm not worried about what they say. They're not saying that I'm a bad person. That's not anywhere in this process. It's saying they're saying I didn't get what I wanted. And how will I know what they want that they didn't get unless I ask?
Exactly. I'll give you a good story here. This is when I was in the travel industry. After I sold my air conditioning business, I ventured into the travel franchise, and it started with traveling. But there was a story that was told to us about, delivering your proposals. And this is a company out in California. And so this is called an exiting survey. I'm sure you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. And the listeners out there, it's always good to find out why you lost the sale. Mm-hmm. And so this guy called back, and to the guy says, it was a couple $1 million account coming out of Japan. And the guy says, well, look, I looked at your proposals, and both of you, line by line, one plus or minus here and there, but the bottom line, you both were right on target at the end of the day. He says, well, why did you pick the other company rather than me? And he says, well, because they offered to have somebody that spoke Japanese to be at the airport to get them to the hotel. And that, of course, the guy probably had a Japanese speaking person right there in his office and could have made the same gesture, and it wouldn't have cost him maybe a dinner or something, or a fam trip or something, that wouldn't have cost him much to add that little extra value. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of businesses, parents, we forget just to add a little value to our work. What makes us different? Going back to air conditioning for an example, oftentimes in the service industry, you will fix one piece of the equipment, and a few months later, another piece might break. Okay, and this is common.
Totally normal with no matter what kind of mechanical piece you're talking about, your car, your air conditioner, your refrigerator, it doesn't matter. Same kind of concept, yeah. So you call me out, and I work on your air conditioner and put a part in, and then 6 months later you come back. That was another thing we did, Mary Catherine, is we established a 1-year guarantee on our work. So that was different in the industry at that time. And so you call me, and I come out, and I'd say, okay, well, yeah, your fan motor is still working. Everything's good there, but this other piece broke, and here's the price on it. And then you would say, well, Terry, between the two pieces, I could have probably bought a new air conditioner. And I said, you're right. And I tell you what, Mary Catherine, you get the best priced air conditioner. You get the model number. You get your best price. You call me. I will match that model number for you, and I will refund the money you spent on the fan motor, and you just pay me the difference. I'll haul you away your equipment, though. That's the deal. And of course, you're going to say yes to that. I mean, yeah.
People in the industry said, Terry, you're going to lose money. And I said, yeah, but I think I'm going to gain customers.
Yeah.
Then you would referral. And that's,
yes.
For our listeners out there, referrals are the easiest and the best testimony that we can get for our service.
Again, my gosh, I think we're both preaching to the choir here because exactly. So power parents, and again, Terry, we call ourselves power parents because if we've brought children through potty training, business is nothing. We can handle business any day of the week if we've handled potty training. So we have power already as parents. But power parents, I've got to tell you, I agree 100%. And you know about this new venture I'm doing, and this is we're recording this at the end of June in 2017. And I'm doing this business called Messenger Funnels. And this business has skyrocketed in just the last couple of months. And it's all from referrals. So I have an example you're talking about as well for the service industry. So many of my listeners are coaches and mentors, and they have online courses, or they're speakers or things like that. And so if you don't have specifically a service business where it's in person at someone's house, like Terry's talking about, and you're either online or you talk to people on Skype or whatever, or you perform a service like Messenger Funnels where you actually create something and administer it. This is the same thing. So I have an example of a person who I created this funnel for, and against my advice, he chose to release messages every day. And people don't want to be messaged every day. In email, that's different. But in your private messenger, they don't want to be messaged every day. They get burnt out from that very quickly. Well, as expected, engagement went down, blah, blah, blah. He's a little worried, trying to get sales. So I understand this. I understand this is all new. And I offered, once we're done, if he's going to set this up as an automated funnel, I will for free tweak it for him based on what I suggested. And when he releases it, whether he uses me or not, that will be complete and ready to go. And he can just release that again as an automated funnel, and I don't have to be involved, but I will set it up for him the way I think it will perform. And why do I do that? Because I know it will perform better, because of my experience that it will perform better. And once he does that, he will recommend me. And just from that recommendation, he's already recommended another client to me.
Perfect.
That's what you do. You give more than you expect.
Always.
It's just
Always.
life. Yes, it's 100%. So can I take you back to something really quickly? Something you said before, a couple of things that I really want to kind of expand on a little bit. You talked about a couple of people who mentored you, that first person that you got that job with. And you also mentioned another person that worked with IBM that mentored you there as well. How when you say they were your mentors, what does that entail for you?
Well, again, before we get to that, so to speak, it takes listening. See, and you got to be listening, and if you're a good-hearted person, this is the way I'm going at it from my standpoint, people like to take you under their wing, and they have a lot of wisdom for you. Okay, just like you have a lot of wisdom with that guy, for an example. In business out there, it behooves all of us to have a coach or a mentor or whatever. It doesn't matter. And oftentimes in business, we think that this business is our little baby. And we have our business is unique, and nobody can help us there, right? So, like I said, I had several mentors. Jim put me on the way to getting ourselves organized, like with IBM would do. I had another mentor that was a printer. This guy was he has a unique story, large family, 5 kids, living in New York. He was tired of the winters, so he researched the market area, found out Tampa didn't have a Heidelberg color printing machine, which is a 4-color printer. So there was nobody offering that service. So he bought a Heidelberg, came to Florida, set it up, and I met him at one of our league groups. And so I would stop by his office. It was on my way home, and every afternoon, not every, but when I'd stop by there, he'd be at the cutter cutting the merchandise, cutting up the printing. And I said, Dick, when do you change out of your suit and get into here? He goes, Terry, as soon as I get back from the meeting. He said, this is my position. Every company has a pivot position, a position that can monitor their best. It doesn't always have to be the CEO. I'm not the CEO of my company. I am the coach, the business development person of my company, because that's what I do best. I have other people that run the logistic. Tony Robbins is not the CEO of his company. Mm-hmm. You find out what you do best, and you do that, and then hire the right people to come in and help you do what you don't do.
Yep.
Okay. And look for mentors and ask for them. And if, I believe in the universe, so you can call the law of attraction and people will show up. The problem is we don't allow them in our life when they show up. Yeah. That's the law of allowing.
Yeah. And the law of letting go of fear. Yes.
Exactly. And another thing about business that I illustrate is that, especially to parents, okay? You remember when your first child was born and the little guy was like 3 months old and your mom showed up and wanted to hold him, or somebody and you went to pass this baby off and there was this bobble that caused your heart to fall into your stomach. Now your mother's raised 5 kids and there's no big deal, right?
Right.
But this is how people feel about their business. They're afraid that somebody might not understand. Like, for an example with me, my job in this world is not to understand the technical work of any business. What I do is put the infrastructure together so that you can run your business more freely and get more accomplished. Again, I don't need to know how to make a widget. I need to know that you need to structure it. I've also found that in business, we're actually running adult daycares.
Yes.
There's not much difference than
No.
raising children than it is raising employees
Yes.
or team members or staff or whatever you want. So I use a system. It's old, but it's very new into the business world, and it's the Socratic method.
I don't know that.
Okay, yeah, it's Socrates being a thinker.
got it.
Comes back from there. Okay, very few powerful businesses use it. Fortune 500 companies, you find it more there. But see, if it's your idea, you own it. Okay, so I teach that you manage by objectives. So when you're handing off work to someone, in fact, I wrote a paper one time called "The Caring and Feeding of Monkeys," and I will bet the majority of your audience is in the caring and feeding of the monkey business. And what that means is you hand off a project, and they'll mess it up just enough to get you to take it back. Okay. And
Either on purpose or accidentally. Who
Oh no,
knows?
they figured this all
Yeah,
out.
right.
'Cause You've
I know.
trained them. You've trained
That's
them
right.
to. Right, you've taught them how to
It's
do this.
no different from cleaning something. You try and train your kids to clean something, and they don't quite clean it the way you do. So you go back and clean it again, or they know you're not that they're not going to do it right, or you're going to redo it. So, oh my goodness, yes.
I had this. This is one of my clients. She's graduating from being an assistant manager to general manager. So I'm taking her on as part of a relationship I have with the owner of the business. So I said, okay, we got on a call one day, and Mary Catherine, she explained to me why she couldn't get her homework done, and she explained it to me like 4 times. And I said, I let her go. And so a few minutes, I said, Audra, you're a repeater. And she goes, yeah, Joe tells me that all the time. I said, well, your kids have trained you to do that.
Yes.
And she goes, because she has 3 kids. She said, well, how do I stop that? And I said, okay, start with the kids. So when you probably your biggest problem is your bathroom. She goes, yep, that's it. And I said, okay, so grab them by the ear, pull them over to the room and say, what's wrong with this picture? And don't let up until they have an exact picture of what you're looking for. Well, the towel's messed up, Mom. Well, yeah, that's it. What else is wrong? And you just keep asking what else is wrong until they figure it out. So when you're giving out at workers, the managed by objective process is describe what it is that you need done. Okay, make it clear to them what clarity is, clarify and verify that they understand what it is. Then ask them how long it's going to take them to get this project done. Add a few minutes or half a day or whatever, give them plenty of time to get it done, and that you're available for any help that they may need along the way. I'm not going to do it for you,
Right.
but I will help you with any ideas, and then turn them loose. Now, every so often, you have to check on them, come in and say, how are we doing on the project? And if they try to hand the project back to you, say, no, that's not the deal. You get it. Here's some suggestions. Managed by objectives is much better than micromanaging.
Yes.
Because, again, micromanaging is going to lead to you doing all the work and them just deciding what they want to do and what they don't want to do.
Right. Yes, I agree 100%. And I've had to learn that. That's one of the reasons when I became a parent, I was a manager, an area manager for a particular area of our city. And I really wanted to stop being a manager because I wanted to actually parent my child and not all the adults that were in my charge. I was no longer wanting to be the parent of the adults. I really wanted to spend my attention parenting my kid. But really, there's not much difference in many ways.
In fact, if I don't mind to ask you here while you have your paper there, I use this illustration, PAC. Okay, so if you put the letters PAC vertically and you put them side by side, okay, what you have is a conversation between 2 people. Okay. So sometimes we're coming from a parent or an authoritative figure. Okay. So if your employee or your child or the person you're working with is coming to you as an authority, then we shouldn't try to talk to them as an adult. Okay. Because the lines of communication are going to cross. Okay, so we should just drop to child state of mind. Why are you saying that? Right. This is an authority statement. Ask them why.
Right.
Kids are the best salespeople in the world because all they do is say why.
That's right.
Now, it's your job as the leader of the organization is to move them into their adult frame of mind. And the only way we can do that is to get them attached logically, because when we're in our adult frame of mind, we're thinking logically. Okay.
Yes.
We get there by listening, and this is one of the communication arts that we don't use as much as we should.
Right.
Now, when I work with listening or teach listening, it's based on two things. The concept is active listening, which results in reflective. So you have to make sure you understand what is being communicated. And you do that best by taking notes. People love when you take notes. As you're talking to me, I'm just writing over here, taking notes.
Yep.
All right. Now, once I have the notes, I can reflect back to make sure that I have clarity on what you said. And a lot of times you'll get corrected.
Mm-hmm,
a lot of times they'll go, oh, no, that's what I didn't say that. Okay, well, what did you say? Help me. And then the other part is listening with empathy. And most of the time people listen with sympathy.
Right.
Trying to be sorry or feel sorry for a person. Right. Listening with understanding develops compassion.
Right.
Okay? And when we can listen compassionately, reflect, and listen actively, we will get a lot more accomplished in our business or with our children. And then getting into this time management concept, the biggest tool that we can do is throw away the time management concept. Okay? Get rid of that concept, because if there was a book that I could tell you that it was perfect in time management, I'd recommend it to you. Okay? And believe me, I've had a long study in time. Learn to manage your time is far more effective than trying to be a good time manager.
Right.
Okay. And managing your time is based on you have 168 hours in a week. How are you using them? And if you're not using them to accent the roles that you have in life, we have 4 roles in life. We have a giving role, we have a family role, we have a work role, and we have a friend role. Now, within these roles, we have goals. Now, when you use my system is time blocking, everybody hears about it, but I have a unique system that I'm going to be offering later to your guests. But being able to move your time blocks around is what makes you effective at managing your time, not locked into stuff.
Right. And being able to, yes, flexibility is part of it, because you don't know, we do have to adjust and adapt based on what's coming down that we don't know about yet. And based on different days and all that. That's definitely blocking your time and segmenting it based on the role you're playing, based on what you need to accomplish at the particular time. But, I have to go back to what you were talking about with listening. If we actively listened, if we were empathetic in our listening, if we looked at the roles we were playing and responded logically to communication from someone else based on the roles you talked about. I followed you perfectly. Parent, adult, child. I got it. If we allowed ourselves to do that and took all of that emotion out of it, like, well, what do they mean? Do they not like me? Did I say something wrong? Was I bad? If we took all that junk out and just communicated effectively, like you're talking about, right there we would gain so much time because we wouldn't be worrying about all that junk in our head, right? Or having to deal with the emotional baggage that came with it. So I get it 100%. Okay, so go ahead.
Just sorry, but you hit on a great point. In fact, I've asked on my calls, people, I said, what do you think that I think about after we get off the call? Yeah. And they always give me this emotional story. Right. And I said, let me tell you what I think about. The last thing I'm thinking about is you.
Right. Because we're done with our call and I'm done.
I ask you one question at the end of my call. What was your takeaway today? When you give me that takeaway, my job is done.
Yep.
and I move on.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. And in a lot of businesses out there, especially women, my expert, I do better with women as clients than I do with men, largely because women, and I mean this from my heart, women can get more things done because men have a tendency to compartmentalize. And I'm not talking negative about one side or the other. It's just that, to me, women can get the kids to school, they can get chores done, they can get here, they can get them to soccer, they can get them all over the place. And the men have trouble just getting to and from work.
Yes. That's
okay.
right.
But if you ever notice, and I'm probably in your world, you see this, when you take a man and a female, and you put them in a business role, the women will graduate to management faster than men do, because they can multitask, or they can get more things done they can't really multitask, but you get more things done.
Right.
Now, but they get upset because the men always go past them, right? And the reason they go past them, or even why men don't get into upper management, is because of emotions.
Yes.
They let emotion, like if I came to you, I said, well, Mary Catherine, Mary Beth's not performing well. Yeah, but Terry, you don't know her husband lost her job and his job, and she's the only breadwinner. No. She's supposed to be working, not sympathy, right? So, again, it's taking the emotion out of business and realizing it's strictly it's logic.
Yeah, it is. And we can be empathetic. You're right. It doesn't mean we can't empathize with people and understand and be compassionate. That is very different than diving down into the emotions with them, which is where sympathy goes. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's, these conversations, Terry, never, ever go exactly the way I think. And that's why I really don't come with any expectation of where the conversation's going to go, because we just let it happen. And look what we covered. Really deep subjects, very helpful subjects. You gave us some very specific ideas and specific tools to be able to manage by objective rather than emotion and all the things that we might bring to it. So you talked about a time management little goodie that you were going to give us, and I know we're coming through to the end of our time together. Tell me, first off, before we get to that, what last piece of advice would you give the listener sitting out there in the audience that kind of, is intrigued by what you're talking about and has this great idea and wants to follow it or wants to go the next step and grow to the next level? What piece of advice would you give that person who's just kind of sitting on the fence going, I know I can do this, but not quite sure? What would you say to them?
You touched on it earlier, and it's fear. See, and the fear is we eliminate fear through goal setting. Okay. Harvard Business School did a goal study story. And it was a Harvard class in 1979. And 10 years later, they went back and interviewed with these 100 students. And they wrote a book called What They Don't Teach You in Harvard Business School. And what they found out was that out of these 100 students, 84% of the people had no goals. They were basically, this is after the MBA program now, they had no goals. They had thoughts and ideas. They were followers. They got behind the little trails and they followed. 13% of the people had actual ideas and thoughts and goals in their head. And only 3% of the people actually wrote their goals out. The 3% of the people that wrote their goals out, they were making 10 times the money that the 97% of the people that were out there rest in this world. Now, you have to set SMART goals.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And SMART goals are, as an acronym, it's been used by many people, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. The added part that I add to it is that do these goals in 90-day increments, because our world, our technology is moving so fast that it's hard to have a year goal anymore. Now, you can have a 5-year dream. That's my tag. My mantra is bridge the gap between dreams and reality. So when I find out what the person's dream is, we have to connect the reality to it, and then we bridge that gap from top to bottom. So we work both sides of it. So the best tip that I could give any of your listeners would be you eliminate fear by simply learning how to write your goals. Fear to me is face everything and rise to the occasion.
Perfect.
The difference between a hero and a coward is 3 seconds.
Yep. And what you do in those 3 seconds.
Exactly.
So translate that to business. Yeah. What are you going to do today?
That's right.
Right now. Wow.
And
right.
I believe we set our objectives first. Then we put a purpose behind it, because you got to have a why, because you want to get to the store, but if you don't have a why there, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And then what is the outcome when you finish? So that's that.
Wow.
Now to lead into my offer, if I may.
Sure thing.
I'm offering any one of your listeners a 1 hour of my time, personal time, on time management, goal setting module that I want to share with them. They will walk away with a complete new recipe on how to become successful with their 168 hours. You simply go to email me, WTOGBURN@AOL.com. Send me a request. We'll set a time, and we will get their goals in line for them.
Fantastic. Give me that email address one more time.
It's WT as in Terry, OG, B as in boy, URN @AOL.com.
Got it. All right. So you know this, Power Parents. That email address will be on the show notes accompanying this episode. So you can go straight there if you'd like. And Terry and I have shared quite a few little tidbits of wisdom. And they will also be available on those show notes for you to use as click to tweets. And also just to be able to remind yourself why you want to book that time with Terry and how he can help you break through some of the barriers that you might have, because these are incremental. This is not like one day you are dealing with emotions in your business and the next day you're not. That's not acceptable. That's not realistic. This is incremental. This is a little bit each day. The more you practice these things, the better you get at them, and the more you let go of those emotional decisions and embrace the logical, active listening that we've been talking about. So I so hope you take Terry up on this offer, because I don't know of anyone I've talked to who offers an hour of their time for free. Take advantage of it. Terry, thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. And here's to more people in that 3%.
Good. And the offer is for you too. I would love for you to go through it, just so that you can see what is being offered to your listeners too. So please, take me up on the offer if you have time. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you. I hope you invite me back again. I'd love to come and spend more time. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and we have a kindred spirit, I think. So thank you very much.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.